Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so here we are building on an idea that I've been mentioning recently. You know, you've heard the talking point a million times, the party's switched. Democrats love using that talking point in an effort to sever their name from the dark history of slavery. The party's switched. Well, since I guess we're playing that game, it feels recently as if we've experienced another switch. A lot of former liberals have been talking about it, especially since the RFK Jr. situation.
And he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy.
That is amazing. The end of the grip of neocons on our foreign. Guess who's a neocon? Joe Biden. Guess who else is a neocon? Kamala Harris. Guess who else? Everybody who runs the Democratic Party. They're neocons. They're the party of George Bush and Dick Cheney now.
You know, someone like Jimmy Dore making the argument that the Democrats, or the Democrat Party, has morphed into the party of Bush/Cheney. He calls them warmongering corporatists, serving Wall Street, Big Pharma, Silicon Valley, and the deep state. And he said all those things back in August, and now fast forward, what is it, like 2 weeks? Yes, he was right, the parties really have switched. The Democrat Party is the party of Dick Cheney, as George Bush's vice president comes out publicly endorsing Kamala Harris for president, and of course the Liz Cheney endorsement follows. And for some reason, Democrats are celebrating this endorsement as some sort of momentous occasion. What a bunch of nimwits. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so this is really happening. Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney endorse the Democrats, and it's an all-out love fest.
I hear you about endorsements. We don't really know the impact that they have all the time. RFK Jr. hasn't been in elected office. Dick Cheney was vice president of the United States for 8 years. He was a senior member of the House. He was chief of staff to Gerald Ford. He worked tirelessly to advance Republican policies for a long time. You don't think his endorsement of a Democrat with that kind of pedigree is going to make a difference with...
There's nothing more important that Liz will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office, and she will succeed. I mean, that's as straightforward as it gets. That is classic Dick Cheney. If love him or hate him, he always was clear-eyed about what he thought was the right approach. And in this case, Dick Cheney is looking at this and seeing Donald Trump as the greatest threat in the history of the Republic. I mean, that is not mincing words. So I agree with everything you said in the intro. I think this is huge news.
I mean, Democrats are simply elated with the latest news. In just a couple major general elections, Democrats went from Dick Cheney's a war criminal and a right-wing Christo-fascist to, oh, how honored we are to work with the Cheneys. They've really, truly become the warmongering party now, haven't they? They've also become the party of fascism, the party of gun confiscation, which apparently now they're just admitting openly.
Should she also be, in your opinion, supporting a mandatory gun buyback program?
Listen, we're not going to be able to get where we need to go without action in Congress. We've got to pass some laws to deal with this. Now, I was heartened by the fact that 2 years ago we finally did a gun safety law, the Safer Communities Act, and it was the first gun safety law we passed in 30 years. 30 years. And it was modest, but it did save lives. But clearly, in the wake of what happened just the other day in Winder, Georgia, it's not enough. And the least we can do is move forward on the bipartisan spaces where ordinary people agree. Clearly, there's a disconnect between what the people, the American people, want and what they're able to get out of their government. Again, 87% of Americans believe in background checks. And yet I hear politicians say that it's not guns who kill people, it's people who kill people. And yet we don't even want to know who those people are. We won't even support.
Senator, just yes or no, though. Should she support the mandatory buyback program? Just a yes or no.
Listen, look, as a pastor, I've done buyback programs. You can pick this issue or that issue. But I think that, again, there's not one single thing that will make all of this go away.
They've become the anti-free speech party, the pro-mandate party. It's like some collective slow descent into madness that we're witnessing in real time here. They've completely lost it. They've lost the plot. And by the way, these are the people who claim that John F. Kennedy and Robert F. Kennedy Sr. would be appalled by RFK Jr.'s recent actions in the political sphere. Give me a frickin' break. What a curious case indeed when the Democrat Party, that always positions itself as the voice of progressivism, civil rights, and social justice, suddenly finds itself embracing an endorsement from Dick Cheney, a man whose name is particularly synonymous with war, secrecy, and let's face it, a few too many oops, we invaded the wrong country moments. I mean, for Pete's sakes, it's like invading Darth Vader to be the keynote speaker at a Jedi convention. I mean, Dick Cheney of all people, a real old-school warhawk warmonger with a Halliburton-sized resume of controversies. The mastermind behind the Iraq War, a global conflict campaign that was sold to the American people on a false premise of weapons of mass destruction. Dick Cheney, the guy who, towards the end of Bush's second term, saw his approval rating in such a dramatic freefall. I mean, this guy's reputation was in the absolute gutter. And we're not just talking about from the perspective of Democrats. Dick Cheney was less popular than dental visits. By the end of Bush's term, Dick Cheney was polling as low as 13%. And now this is their guy. It tells you all that you need to know now, doesn't it? When Dick Cheney decides to endorse Kamala Harris, what you would probably expect is that the Democrats wouldn't make a big deal out of it. Kamala Harris would probably try to distance herself from it or even outright condemn the endorsement. I mean, it's not like Democrats jumped out of their seats with joy when Vladimir Putin endorsed her.
If we can name a favorite candidate, it used to be Joe Biden, but now he is not participating in the election campaign, and he recommended all his allies to support Ms. Harris. So that is what we are going to do. So it was, well, he said that we should, that is why we should also do that. Well, her laugh, she's laughing, her laugh is so fascinating.
You would expect either silence or condemnation, but instead, they're actually thrilled. And that right there is not just an awkward moment, a political miscalculation or misstep. It's a crystal clear indication of where things are headed. The guy who practically invented the forever war is now giving his thumbs up to a vice president who seems ready to keep that tradition very well alive. It's like passing the baton in a marathon, except the race is for the most hawkish policy and the prize is perpetual conflict. In a time when wars and international tensions are on the rise, this Cheney endorsement signals that the Democrats, or at least Kamala Harris, are comfortable cozying up to the very ideas and figures that they once condemned. It suggests a continuation of these American military adventures that never seem to end. It always seems to be ramping up or on to the next one. Dick Cheney's blessing here tells you all that you need to know about Kamala Harris's foreign policy outlook. So I guess all I gotta say is brace yourself for that if the regime somehow manages to get her across the finish line. Holy friggin' moly. I never thought I'd witness a day where Democrats would be celebrating a partnership with the Cheney family. Unfrickin' believable. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.